welcome to the Tune In with Meredith, soon to be Guiding God's Daughters podcast. The topic of today's episode is food plan freedom, and my guest is Theresa Wright, MSRD LDN. She is a dietitian and nutritionist and a pioneer in the field of food addiction. She really is. Nationally recognized for her innovative approach to nutrition and in the treatment of weight issues, Theresa was among the first nutrition experts to recognize that the hidden reason millions of people struggle with food and weight is their untreated food addiction. As founder of Renaissance Nutrition Center, Theresa has developed a groundbreaking, gentle, sensible, and evidence-based program of recovery from self-destructive eating that's been changing lives for nearly 30 years. She tailors her program to fit each client's unique needs. Theresa is a sought-after speaker at conferences, workshops, and retreats. She co-wrote the chapter From the Front Lines on Food Addiction Symptoms for the first comprehensive collection of academic literature on food addiction, called Food and Addiction, A Comprehensive Handbook by Kelly Brownell and Mark S. Gold. In addition to her professional publications, Theresa has outlined for the lay audience her revolutionary food plan in your personal food plan guide, and she has authored 3 volumes of the cookbook Delicious Recovery. Theresa Wright has been named one of today's Dietitian magazine's 10 incredible registered dietitians who are making a difference. Theresa was invited to be the contributing consultant to the Overeaters Anonymous Food Plan Guide Dignity of Choice. She holds a BS and MS degree in nutrition science from Drexel University. She's a registered dietitian and a licensed dietitian nutritionist. Woo! Pretty impressive, Theresa. Not to mention, she's a friend. She is just, she's full of wisdom, and she's helped so many people. And I've been wanting to interview her for so long on this podcast, just because I think she's like the untapped source. You know, because you're not going to hear about her in the diet world. You're going to hear about her in the recovery world, and I want to give my listeners a little peek inside that, because all you're seeing is diet stuff out in the world. So I want people to see what a food plan is about and kind of the meat behind the bones. So, or hear about the meat on the bones. So Theresa, I guess what I want to start off with is tell me about the benefits. I already know this, but my listeners may not know this. I have freedom in a food plan. My life, I live so much more freely when I'm working a food plan. So I would love if you would tell my listeners about the benefits of a food plan and maybe your sane food approach.
Okay, well, the first thing is a diet is a period of starvation. It happens right before you gain 20 pounds. A food plan is your favorite comfortable sweatshirt that you put on that holds you and keeps you warm when it's nasty out and just generally makes you feel whole and happy. A food plan has to be sustainable. Mm-hmm. It has to be flexible enough that you don't go on and off it every 5 minutes. That when you make a mistake, you say, and you go back on. Mm-hmm. You turn around and you go back on. Mm-hmm. You clap your hands, you wash your face, you brush your teeth if you need to, and say, that's it, I'm back on track. Mm-hmm. And you don't let yourself go wandering into the kinds of foods that make us sick and fat.
Pretty much.
The next, 65 to 85% of Americans are overweight and obese. And somewhere close to 85% of the food in the average grocery store did not exist before man built a factory to make it.
Wow.
So your food plan has to be full of nutrients. The nutrients that are taken out of the food product in order to turn it into an edible food-like object, as a famous person once said, you lose the nutrients. Mm-hmm. If I take whole grain wheat and I take off the bran and I take off the germ, I have removed 18 B vitamins, 4 minerals, all the protein, and all the fat that God and Mother Nature put in that wheat plant.
Wow.
So you lose too much.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go ahead and we make tapioca starch. Well, now white flour is 300 to 1,000 molecules of sugar hooked together. I call it timed release sugar. Mm-hmm. And tapioca starch has 150 to 200 milligrams of sugar hooked together. That's because when you stir it up in the bowl, it gets thick.
Oh, yeah.
And it's used to thicken other stuff.
Yep.
That's why. Because it holds water to itself and makes a gel.
You just mentioned flour, which is good because I think a lot of people think, oh, if I just put down the sugar, that I'm good. And I talk a little bit about my book, but maybe you could talk more about I'm jumping in before your next question, but more about why flour. People don't realize that flour can be a major trigger. So maybe mention that too.
300 to 1,000 molecules of sugar hooked
Oh.
together. If sugar gives you a trouble,
Mm-hmm.
what will 300 to 1,000 molecules of sugar do?
Mm-hmm.
When God and Mother Nature made that wheat kernel, they put whole grain, whole real fat in there, and fiber, and 18 B vitamins, and 4 minerals, so that if I took that wheat kernel and planted it, it would grow into a new wheat plant. Mm-hmm. And when we refine it, we take all that away. That's what's wrong.
Yeah.
French fries at a fast food restaurant. Why are they all golden yellow and the same color? Because for many places, the manufacturer cut the potato into those little square things and dipped it in sugar water to stabilize the carbohydrate on the outside of the French fry.
Wow.
And then when they fry it in that oil, and I'm not sure what oil your favorite fast food restaurant uses, they turn utterly golden, even all over. Do you notice at a fast food restaurant, you don't get a burned French fry?
No, you never do.
You don't get a French fry. If you make French fries at home, they're all not the same color, right? Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's interesting.
So we're depriving ourselves of nutrients. Number one, your food plan has to be sustainable. It has to give you enough food that you're comfortable, and it has to have nutrients in it. I had a client in my office. I've had clients in my office regularly who I say to them, I want you to go out and I want you to get this particular multivitamin, and I want you to take it to your doctor and ask your doctor if it's okay for you to take it. Because there are people with a whole bunch of other medical problems. And I got a call from one of the doctors the other day, and he said, would you stop sending me vitamins? You can give them whatever you want.
Wow.
But we don't get all the vitamins we need if we're not eating a healthy food plan. And we can't maintain it when we try to eat a healthy food plan. So then what? And then stuff happens in our lives. Our kid gets sick, or the car breaks down, or something, and we go off and we eat badly.
Yep.
And then we beat ourselves up for that, but we don't go back to eating properly. Or we pick a fast diet thing that doesn't do us any good, that doesn't let us maintain what we need to have.
Mm-hmm.
And those forgive me, but I want my food to be delicious. I want flavor in my
Yep.
food. I want spices in my
Mm-hmm.
food. I want to taste something wonderful when I sit down to
Mm-hmm.
my dinner. I don't want that bland diet food.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. And I think, how funny do you think it is when, the diet, when you see like one of the diets has like, okay, well, here's the points you can have. So you can have this cupcake, but you're not going to eat, anything with nutrition the rest of the day because you're saving all your points up for this cupcake that you want. You know,
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
I kind of think that keeps people, as you like, that keeps people still stuck in the cycle of, so you're still attached to the sugar, you're still attached to the fake food, you know.
Well, and look at Nutrisystem. They have burgers and fries for men. Well, that
Mm-hmm.
just sounds wonderful. But it doesn't teach him how to eat Brussels sprouts.
Nope. Mm-mm.
It teaches him that burgers and fries are okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but Nutrisystem has remanufactured burgers and fries so they aren't as high in calories and
Mm-hmm.
they have more, I assume. I haven't looked. I really didn't want to read the label
Because it's got so much fake stuff in
because
it.
I was afraid that it would make me angry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was probably one of my first diets, that when I was in high school, that I lost the most weight on,
Well,
because
that was a much better diet when you were in high school.
yeah, that's true. But
They
it was,
weren't as skilled at
yeah.
pulling calories out of food then.
So because it was prepared food. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was. Yeah, but that's what I struggle with too. It's because, like, how do you learn when you have this prepared meal? How do you learn to cook, and what do you do when you're done that? You know,
Yes.
how do you live?
One inch at a time. See,
Yep.
the first thing I do is I know that you and I have a spiritual solution in the back of our minds.
Mm-hmm.
And I call God the boss and I say to him, would you please teach me how to do this?
Yes.
And so then I suggest people start with the easiest thing. Can you drink 8 glasses of water a day? Tell me how you like herbal tea.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of herbal tea do you like?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of seltzer do you like? Let's get 8 glasses of water a day into the body and let's start there.
Yep.
And then look at the next thing you should do. Well, the next thing I want you to do is to start eating every 3 to 5 hours while you're awake. If you get up at 6:30 in the morning and you're going out for a walk or a run or an exercise program, have a little bit of food before you go.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you come back from the exercise run, have your breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
And then 3 to 5 hours later, either have lunch or if you can't have lunch at that time because you have a meeting with your boss, have, I don't know, 2 mozzarella cheese sticks and a piece of fruit,
Yeah.
or a cup of yogurt and a cup of fruit
Mm-hmm.
before you go into that meeting so that you've fed your brain and your brain can think clearly.
Yes. Emphasis on fed your brain.
Oh, absolutely.
It's, don't go down to the machine and get a bag of chips and think that is going to fuel you and make you ready for that meeting. I mean, people don't realize the power of protein in your diet, and I think people are afraid of eating too much, and
Well, of course, because all of the man made foods have a lot more
yeah.
calories.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we gain weight because we're eating all of these calories. And
Mm-hmm.
if we're eating nutrient free calories, what can the body do with them?
Mm-hmm.
If we're eating nutrient free calories, the body, I was in my first year, was 1964.
Mm.
I was in my first nutrition class.
Wow.
And I'm listening to this man, and I'm listening to this man, and I'm listening to this man. And I said, stop, wait a minute. Are you telling me that the chicken I ate for dinner last night is going to become my heart or my lungs or my liver or my eyeballs? And he said, yes, exactly what I'm telling you. Well, the class was roared with laughter.
Yeah.
But the truth is, the body uses the food we eat to repair and replace and maintain itself.
Mm-hmm.
If I want my body to be healthy and strong, I have to eat the food that my body needs to replace and repair itself.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's so important
Mm-hmm.
that we eat nutrient-rich foods.
Yes.
Now, I'm telling my clients who know that they have food addiction,
Mm-hmm.
it's no excuse for not eating nutrient-rich foods.
Yeah, I completely agree.
You have to fuel your body.
And you have to learn what foods fuel your body and what foods don't fuel your body. And I think sometimes people don't realize everybody's different. Everybody has certain foods that, work for them. And then people like, it's like diets. People are like, oh, my friend does that diet. I think I'm going to take out this whole food group and I'm going to see what happens with that. Maybe that'll work for me too. And it's like, that's why I love that you work so individualized with people. Like you really meet them where they are and say, okay, where are you at? What are you eating? What are the steps we can take to change this? Um,
And you start with the easy steps.
yes.
Who's going to argue with me about drinking 8 cups of water a day?
Yeah.
How hard is it to eat every 3 to 5 hours?
Do you think
While
people are
you're
afraid
awake?
of that? Afraid of eating
Yeah.
everything? Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And then we hold ourselves back from eating every 3 to 5 hours. And then by the time we get to the place where we allow ourselves to have food, we're ravenous.
Yep.
And we eat 3 times the amount of food
Mm-hmm.
that we should be eating.
Mm-hmm. I have a certain someone in my life, I won't mention who they are, but it's not my husband. They won't eat breakfast until 6 o'clock at night. They get up at noon, and I'm like, and I think they have this thinking that it's like, if I just don't eat, I'll be, it's like that whole starvation, like maybe I'll lose the weight if I just don't eat forever, and it's like, no, you have to fuel your body.
And the other thing is when the body feels starved, the body's goal is to survive. The body is afraid of being without food and of being starved. So if you're going to starve yourself, the body's going to hold on to the calories that it has. If you lost your job or your husband lost his job, you wouldn't go out and buy a new Mercedes.
Good point.
So if the body feels like you're starving the body, then the body is going to hold on to every calorie it can find. And it's going to lower its metabolic rate so that when you do eat more, it can save more because we don't know when the next food is coming. And see, that's a binge. I'll save it all so that the next starvation time I can make it.
Bringing up binge, that makes me also think, because I've been diagnosed with the binge eating disorder. That's what I had in my sickness, and I think we do that kind of, I'm not that bad, or I don't have something like that. And would you expand on like what binge eating is to you, so maybe my listeners can understand that a little better?
Binge eating is like eating a large amount of food and feeling like you can't stop, and feeling like you don't want to stop, and feeling like if you stopped, the world would fall apart. A lot of the times when people I do these individualized food plans for people. We talk about what we're going to do for breakfast. We talk about what we're going to do in the middle of the morning. We talk about lunch. We talk about whether you need a snack in the middle of the afternoon. We go through from AM to bedtime. What are we going to eat? But it's terrifying for people. It's terrifying to do that because you're putting all this food. And yet, if I ask them to tell me how many dollars they spent on fast food in the last month, or how many calories they ate at their last binge, there's no comparison. I can't build a food plan big enough to cover the fast food stuff we eat. I mean, there's a restaurant near my house where the average calories are between 3,000 and 4,000 calories a meal. And that doesn't include dessert.
Whoa. That's insane.
That's fine. People go out and eat that.
They do.
They do. And then they feel fat. And then they feel guilty. And then they go and starve themselves.
Yes.
And then the body gets worried that it's going to die of starvation. And so it holds on to all those calories. And then they go on another diet. And that's not working for you. If you went for a walk in your sneakers, Meredith, and you came home with a blister on your toe, would you cut off your toe or would you look for what's wrong with the sneakers?
I'd look at the sneakers.
Of course you would. We all would. But with diets, and we try a diet that doesn't work, or we have a binge, we beat ourselves up and tell ourselves that we're weak and stupid and we have no willpower.
Yes.
Willpower will never help.
Nope. I think willpower gives the illusion of control that people want. It's, if I can control my willpower, I can just get this figured out. And that is why the spiritual piece is so important. And that's...
And if people say to you, you don't have enough willpower, now you feel
weak, flawed, imperfect, like every negative thing, what did I do wrong? And, I remember when I had my alcohol bottom, because I also struggle with the alcohol, and my family was like, I was a mess. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? And they were like, well, it's your weight. Your weight's the problem. And this was when I was over 30, and boy, did that just bring on all the shame of when I started those diets when I was 8 years old and I was training for marathons, and I'm thinking, you're telling me it's still my weight, and it's like, I think we have the old records that play in our mind for all the years we've struggled with our weight, It's
and
like
that's what food addiction doesn't tell us well. If we could find a stronger word than allergy, because what the point is that the food that is man-made and processed, the man-made and processed food, yes, we're allergic to it. It doesn't do what it's supposed to do for our bodies. And I want to talk about the hardest part of food addiction. That is powerlessness, acceptance, and surrender. When I eat a chocolate chip cookie or a Hershey bar or a bag of Pringles, I have a choice over whether I'm going to eat them. But I don't have a choice over what's going to happen when they go in my body. That's powerlessness. It's, I can't change it. I see you're wearing glasses. Why are you doing that?
Because I can't see. Great.
Because you can't see the way normal people see.
Mm-hmm.
So you put on your glasses in the morning and you can make it through your day.
Mm-hmm.
Are you an inadequate mother because you can't see clearly?
No.
Are you without willpower? If you force your will to try and make yourself see adequately,
Mm-mm.
it wouldn't work.
Mm-mm.
You're powerless over the fact that your eyes
Yes.
don't see perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And we both are powerless over what happens in the body
Mm-hmm.
when we eat certain foods. And some of us are sensitive to certain foods.
Mm-hmm.
I hate the fact that I'm allergic to lobster, but whenever I eat lobster, I get red hives all over my body.
Wow.
I don't think I've had lobster since 1973.
I bet you haven't if that happened.
It's not really hard for me. I look at the lobster on the menu and I remember the taste of the lobster and I sniff the lobster from other people's plates.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not putting that in my body because I'm not going to hurt my body that way.
Yes.
And when you are sensitive to certain foods make you feel high or take away pain, or certain foods make you not be able to stop eating them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have to look at what your choices are.
Mm-hmm.
You have to accept the fact that this is the way it is. And I want to say a really important sentence. Acceptance is not approval.
Yes. Good one.
I don't have to
Good
like
one.
it. I don't have to want to be this way.
Yeah.
I don't have to fight it.
Good.
I just put on my glasses and go to work.
Mm-hmm.
You
Just do
know,
it. Just show up.
take care of it. Follow the food plan and take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you make a mistake, well, it's like, you're driving down the road and you hear the rumble strip.
Mm-hmm.
And the rumble strip is telling you that something is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have choices. Get back in the lane
Mm-hmm.
or drive into the ditch.
Yeah.
You want to drive into the ditch or you want to get back in the lane? Or maybe what you need to do is you need to pull off the road, stop the car, and finish that phone call that's getting you so aggravated that you're on the rumble strip. And maybe when you're done finishing that phone call, you need to call somebody else and tell them all about it and make yourself feel better about
Yep.
it.
Yep.
And now, when you get back on the road, you're safe,
Mm-hmm.
you're easy, you can do this.
Mm-hmm. When you mention the powerlessness of the brain, I often think of with brain chemistry, because that, you know better than me, the serotonin levels and the dopamine levels, and thinking that willpower is what's going to keep me, like, that's what's going to keep me balancing my brain and eating the sugar. And that's not, it's like I have to learn to accept that my brain doesn't function properly, and part of changing that is eating the right foods that feed it properly. Is that right?
I wouldn't say your brain doesn't function properly.
Well, what could you
I
say?
would say it functions uniquely.
Oh, there you go. See?
I mean, look at your hair. Your hair is red. It's brown, but it has this red sheen to it.
Hmm.
And your hair has a curl to it.
Yeah.
My hair is spokey, spindly, spiky, poker straight. My choices are to perm it, which is what you're looking at, or to leave it pokey, spindly, spiky, poker straight. Yours has a lovely little curl to it. I'd be happy with that. So your brain functions the way your brain functions. And yeah, part of the way your brain functions is due to your genes. Because if we looked at your family of origin, we would find, and we went back a couple of layers, we would find there were other people who had problems with sugar and with alcohol.
Yep.
And you already told me in this event that it was always about your weight from the time you were 8 years old. So other people put things on you about your weight. And those things that the grown-ups said to you when you were a little kid carried a lot of weight in your brain. And so they changed the way your brain works. And now your brain is different. Laughter, prayer and meditation, effective sex, and exercise will release serotonin.
Yes.
You don't need sugar for it. And quite frankly, I'll say to my clients, turn round in your mind, assuming that I know that their spirituality is compatible with this. I will say to a client, turn round in your mind and say, boss, would you please help me?
Yep.
That's all. That's all that's needed, boss, help. Well, wouldn't that be great? I was raised with this very rigid God who wore flowing long robes and a big black book where he wrote down everything I did wrong. And he didn't work very well for me. If I were going to personify God, I would be talking about George Burns in Oh God.
Wow.
Because he's this cool little dude.
Yeah.
Who'll sit around and tell you what you're doing wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll say it straight, but he won't say it in a way that hurts your feelings.
Hmm.
And I think that's important.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want a God who's not willing to cooperate with me.
Mm-hmm.
When I sit down with my higher power in the morning, I ask him what he wants me to do for him today.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell him what I wish could happen
Mm-hmm.
in a day, in this day. I would like it if you could do this and this for me today, God. And I would like it if you would make this conversation with Meredith go really well, please, if that's your will.
Mm-hmm.
And what else can I do for you today?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I get my marching orders. And that's what works for me. I don't have a problem if someone comes to me and says they don't believe in God. They don't think, they don't think that God exists. I sure do understand that. If I look at Ukraine and Russia and a whole lot of the other things in the world today, it's hard to believe that God exists. It really is.
Yeah. Do you find that when you work with that they need to have some sense of, I'm going to say they have to be spiritual, or they have to have some sense of who God is? Or because could they pick up the food plan and make it a diet, or,
Well, I'd rather they didn't make the food plan a diet.
Yeah.
Could they pick up the food plan, and could they let me teach them how to use a food plan, how to adjust a food plan for New Year's Eve, how to plan that party at your mother-in-law's house when your mother-in-law thinks you have to eat the cream cheese pie. How do you do that? Can you let me show you how to handle those situations? Can you let me show you how to make the food plan effective at what you want in your life? And by the way, what do you want in your life? If you aim at nothing, Meredith, you're going to hit it.
You're going to hit nothing.
Now, what do you really want? Now, can you let other people help you? can you pick other people who are willing to help you in a way that you can accept?
Yep.
You know?
Can you trust other people? Like, and that's the thing, is I think people don't want to trust anybody else in this area, but that's why we need experts like you, that this is
Well,
what
my
you
dear, from the time you were a little girl, all the grown-ups around you told you the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So listening to one more dietitian tell you what to do. Have you been to other dietitians?
I think so. Yeah.
And
It never really worked until, I mean, they would say, try not to eat sugar or flour, but they never made the connection between, the powerlessness and the spirituality. I mean, it was it was the willpower. If you just take this out of your diet and just do that, you'll be good, and work out. And it's the calories in, calories out ratio. That's all it is. And it never worked when it was just that.
a calorie is not a calorie. A calorie comes with something else.
Mm-hmm.
It comes with fluid. It comes with nutrients or not.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to know. And if I asked your clients to do one thing, I want you to read the ingredient list on the back of every food you buy. I want you to read the ingredient list. And if you don't understand what's on the ingredient list, I want you to take a picture with your phone of the ingredient list and go find out what's in the product before you buy it.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter won't go to the grocery store with me anymore. She's had it. I flipped out the last time we were in the grocery store. There's this beautiful green box that says pure stevia on the front. And on the back it said ingredients, dextrose, stevia, which means that there's more sugar, because dextrose is a sugar. There's more sugar
Than stevia.
How dare they? Why must they betray me like this? And by the way, I have a list of 150 some odd sugars. Yeah. If anybody wants to call my office and ask my secretary, she'll be happy to email them to them. Because you have to know what the names for sugar are.
Yes.
We have 150 odd sugars, and sugars are listed in the order in decreasing in the label, decreasing order by weight. So if high fructose corn syrup is the first ingredient in my ketchup, there's more high fructose corn syrup in the food than there is tomatoes. So I can get tomato ketchup that says high fructose corn syrup, water, tomatoes. Water, high fructose corn syrup, tomatoes. Or tomatoes, high fructose corn syrup, water. Which do I want? Thank you. I like tomatoes in my ketchup.
Same. Yep. But people don't read the ingredients. They read calories or fat. I mean, I know people that still are like, I want stuff with 0 fat. I'm like, boy, you just haven't figured out that fat is good for you, have you? Like, people just, you wonder why you're starving.
67% of the weight of your brain is fat.
Wow.
Myelin is the sheath that surrounds all the nerves in your body. It's made from fat. All the hormones in the body, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone,
fat,
cortisol, adrenaline, insulin, need fat for production. If your skin is dry and your hair is falling out and your nails are brittle, that means that you don't have enough fat in your diet, because the body is cutting off the non-essential services so that it can maintain your brain cells.
Wow.
And You know how there are no baby boomers in certain parts of Europe?
Mm-hmm.
No babies were born after the World War II because there was no food.
Yeah.
People were starving, and the body shut off the reproductive tract because it knew it didn't have enough calories coming in to make a healthy baby. But I want to go back for a minute before I know we're almost done, but I have to say this. Acceptance is not approval.
I love that.
Surrender means I'm saying, that's it. It's done. I hate it. I have to wear these glasses every day, no matter what. Damn. I have to know in my mind and my heart that certain foods are not good for my body. That doesn't mean that if you see your 3-year-old running down the driveway and you want to stop her because the cars are coming, you're going to put on your glasses before you run after her.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
That doesn't mean you might not go off track sometime. But when you do, surrender means you look at what got you off track, and then you get back on track as quickly as you can. And you learn something from the experience. Don't let her out the front door without your glasses on. I know that's silly, but
no, but it's you learn what you need and you learn what you don't need, and you are more aware of learning what you do and don't need when you are using a food plan because you're not in the foods that make you crazy. And you know, I feel the stuff that I've gone through, that I go through when I'm on a food plan, I'm so much stronger going through it because I just know that's not going to make me feel better. That there is no need to pick that up. I don't care how good it looks, you know. And I'll have people say to me, "Well, why can't you just have?" I have a good friend who's a baker, love her, but she, you know, she's a baker, so she'll be like, "Oh, why don't you have just one?" I'm like, "Because I can enjoy them by looking at them and handing them to my family, but it's not worth touching it because it hurts my body, and I'm not going to hurt my body like that." You know, it's not because I'm dieting right now. No, it's not, you know, it blows people's minds when you don't do it for a couple years. And it's like, number one, it's not me, it's God that's doing it. And number two, it's because the longer I do it, the better I feel, you know?
That's the truth.
And I'm sure you deal with that with your clients a lot. And so what would you say to someone who is afraid to do the food plan?
Why would they be afraid?
I know some people that are afraid to kind of just make that switch from thinking they can control the food, you know, whether it's a diet or cutting out a food group, um, to hiring someone like you to do it right.
Well, what I tell people is no decision is permanent.
Yeah.
But I suggest that people work on following this way of eating for 6 months.
Yeah, that's good.
And if they're in the 12-step rooms, a fourth and fifth step. And at the end of 6 months, they can decide whether they want to stay this way or not. Is your life better like this or better like that? At the end of 6 months, you've gone through withdrawal. You've gotten used to the food plan and the food, and you're clear on what's going on with you and the food. Maybe we have to change food plans. I mean, I have clients who are on their 14th food plan.
Wow.
That's okay with me. We've been through 3 pregnancies. And
yeah, high changes.
And we needed the changes. Now, in 6 months, you'll be able to tell whether this is going to work for you or not. but you also have to get the support from other people.
Yes.
Because if you don't, you're not going to learn how to do this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Nutrisystem will teach you their way. Weight Watchers will teach you their way. You have to find a group of people who are physically sensitive to refined and processed and man-made foods who will teach you how to do this.
Yes. And that is why, and that's kind of the last thing we can talk about, is that's why 12-step is so great, because you get to meet people who are doing it, differently. I mean, like, not like the rest of the world, but they have the foods that don't work. And it makes you feel a lot less alone, because food is such a thing that we can so easily isolate and feel alone in. And that support piece is just so huge. And do you want to mention your group that you do on Wednesdays?
Sure, I want to mention my group. It's called Wacky Wednesday, and it's free. And it's from 7 to 8:30.
Okay.
And the passcode is on my website. And you can come anytime you want to.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to stay. You don't have to keep coming back if you don't want to. Miss a week, that's fine. I started it when the pandemic started, thinking I was going to do this for 2 or 3 months. Now I'm doing it for 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to move my office last September. That wasn't the spring. It feels like forever ago.
Mm-hmm.
I had to move my office, and so I couldn't do my regular courses. But I'm going to start my regular abundant abstinence classes up in July. One will be in July, and then there'll be 3 in September.
Good.
So that those people who are used to them can come and enjoy themselves.
So are you going to do those online and in person, or just in person?
No, I'm just going to do them online.
Oh, good. Okay.
People come to me from pretty far away sometimes. Yeah. And it's so much better with Zoom.
Yeah.
Because for one thing, you don't have to drive however far it might be to come to me outside of Philadelphia. You can just pick up your computer and here you are.
Well, in my book, when my book comes out, it'll be great because I can refer people to, when your next program is starting, and so that'll be good.
Thank you. I'll be grateful for that.
Yes, absolutely, because I think people aren't really sure where to look. So, okay.
Hey, I stayed undercover for a long time. Meredith, I haven't been promoting myself for years because I know there's a strong backlash from other dietitians and other physicians who don't believe that food addiction really exists. But now the evidence is becoming more and more clear, and I've felt ordered to speak out by the boss. So this is what I'm doing.
Yes.
Yes.
For such a time as this, you were made. I do believe that.
I did publish a book. It's called, let me get it.
Yes, show it to us. Me.
It's called Your Personal Food Plan Guide. And it's a list of what's a sugar, what's a flour, what's a vegetable, what's a fruit. And it shows you how to follow your food plan.
Good. People will love that. We'll make
the
that
next book I write is going to be about all the things we've talked about here today.
Good. The meat, even more meat on the boats. And then you also have recipe books.
3 of them. They're called Delicious Recovery. One is for one started out. I was complaining to my friend that I couldn't get a recipe book done, and she said, "Give me 25 of your favorite recipes, Theresa, the ones you eat." So that's the first one. The second one was on summer foods and grilling and that kind of thing. The third one is soups and stews.
Yum.
And the fourth one is almost done. It's breakfasts.
Ooh. So can you make some of them for like more than, can you make like for a party or something? Could you bring an abstinent? I mean, I sometimes will go to a Bible study or something, and I would love to bring like an abstinent, you know, uh, bigger dish, but
An abstinent muffin
yep.
or an abstinent soup
Mm-hmm.
or an abstinent chili
Yes.
or an abstinent main dish.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, but my friends all expect me to appear with the vegetable tray.
I can see that.
Yeah, they
Making sure
expect
they're
it.
getting their vegetables.
But you know what I laugh about is I'll bring this vegetable tray. I'll get the vegetable tray from the grocery store and I'll get a bunch of extra vegetables like snow peas and
Mm.
tomatoes and stuff and add them to the tray. And it always amazes me that the vegetable tray is gone
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
before dinner.
Mhm. Whenever I
Mhm.
have my stepkids home, I mean, or this summer, like it's July 4th, I always get it because they just plow through it.
They plow through it.
Hmm.
Yeah. Because the body knows
It
that
wants it.
this is good for the body and the
Yep.
body wants it.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
But yes, the recipes are all for, most of them I have for making 6 or 8 servings.
Oh, perfect.
And then I'll tell you at the bottom, if your food plan says this, eat this much of the result. If your food plan says that, eat this much.
Hmm.
And then if you want to double a recipe and make it for a crowd, you can do that.
Okay, good. I might have to do that for my book launch party. I have a friend that's making little mini quiches, but it would be neat to have one of your abstinent recipes there too. And
That would be cool.
mm-hmm.
That would
Because
be cool.
we're not going to have a cake. But I
Now,
don't even really want to. I mean, it's just, I don't know. Why?
what,
You don't have to,
why,
huh?
why can't you have the caterer make fruit
Oh,
skewers?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I will. We're gonna have fruit, or I was gonna do, abstinent muffins or something like that. But
What I love are just skewers like you expect at a barbecue,
mm-hmm.
but with
Oh, that's good.
fruit.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Maybe we'll do that.
Yeah, it makes it easier to eat the fruit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Well,
What else?
I think that's. Is there anything else you want to cover with me? I think that's pretty much.
I
You.
think we've done it all.
I think we've done it
Yeah.
all.
Be gentle. Encourage your clients to
I
be
will.
gentle with themselves.
Yes.
Don't beat yourself up about this.
Yes.
Stay and keep looking for a solution that works for you, but don't let yourself get into that horrible, hateful, incompetent, no willpower
Mm-hmm.
attitude.
Mm-hmm. The self-hate, it doesn't. It
It
just doesn't
doesn't
work.
help.
Yeah.
No.
Ugh. Well, thank you,
You're
Theresa, for
welcome.
being here today. I'm so glad to
You're
see
welcome.
you.
I'm
And
glad to see you too. And
yes,
thank you for having me.
absolutely. And for hearing all your wisdom. And I hope people got some great chunks out of that, especially
Thank
the
you.
the permission. What is that again? Permission is what is it? Not approval. What was that quote again?
Acceptance
Acceptance is
is
not
not
approval.
approval.
I'm gonna.
Means I just stopped fighting against it.
Yep. Love it. I think
Good.
I'm gonna have to share that quote when I promote this podcast. So thank you
Thank you.
again, Teresa, and we
Take
will
care.
speak soon. And you guys all have a
Yes.
great day. Thank you.
Let's talk soon.
Yes,
Bye
we
bye.
will. All right. Bye bye.